have made it to Stu and the Nunn, an online radio show that looks to inform, educate, and hopefully make you laugh. Stu and the Nunn is a show focused on national security, policy, politics, and selfless service. We do this by not only interviewing guests, but also sharing our own perspectives and asking you, the listener, to interact with us on our show chat room, via our Facebook page, and on Twitter. Like to thank those who make this show possible and allow us to bring it to you. Our show sponsors are Commodity Outdoors, Veteran Outdoors, Enlisted 9 Fight Company, Warrior Media Solutions, and BooHammer.com. Turn up the mic. There we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Stu and the Nunn. We always start off with a little technical something because that's the Bush League way we are. And if we were too perfect, you'd be like, did you guys start getting funding or something? Like, how the hell did you guys pull that shit off?
Yeah, no, like that applause is like the applause we'd get every time we'd enter the penalty box after a scrap that you never really know if like you win like a hockey fight or not, right? Like it's only a win if you knock the dude out.
Yes.
Other than that, it's just you just got one.
If you both fall to the ice, like, everyone claims they're winning, right? You know.
Yeah, and if the ref break you up, you know, it's a draw. Like I don't know. So I feel like that's what our applause is like. The applause we get.
And if you just skate in circles and you're just like this and you're just ducking and weaving, it's like, yeah.
Although, like, you know, a big shout out to Vancouver Canuck alum, you know, my man Kevin Bieksa for bringing in the Superman punch into the NHL. Because that changed hockey fighting. But enough about hockey, because it's not on right now. That's probably why we're all depressed. That's why COVID's winning.
I was just thinking about that today. I was at my rogue gym, I'll call it, and I was like, why isn't there any hockey on? I know his season just ended, but did I miss the memo? Are they delaying the start? Or are they not doing it at all?
Yeah, it's coming back in like January and February.
Okay. All right. So, I must have missed that memo or something. So
yeah,
I just don't realize that I haven't been watching hockey and something.
For millions of dollars a year, you would think that they could just play you around, but
yeah,
you know, lame. All right. But hey, we got a great show tonight. Super excited as always. You know, our unpaid producer just always knocking it down, doing good things and bringing us just really good inspirational stuff. Tonight's especially cool because there's some unicorns out there, right? There's a couple unicorns out there. And I like, you know, we have a unicorn here in Texas that is super inspiring to me, and I'll share his story later as we talk. But we got Scott on tonight, and we're going to let him tell you kind of his story because he's a lot better at it than we are. You know, Scott Flansbaum is a pretty inspiring cat because he's infantry. I mean, like
true blue, baby.
Yeah, yes. Like that's really all there is to it.
Brotherhood of the blue cord, that's it.
Yeah, so like in you know, like we could talk to, you know, like a Navy SEAL. We could talk to another Green Beret. Shout out to Travis Wilson, Alpha Elite Fitness Performance. Man, I'm like, that's why we don't have sponsors, is I can never say their name right.
We can't say the one's right.
But but if you shop Elite 15, alphaeliteperformance.com, you'll find the best supplements made by Green Berets. And there you have it. So
and there's a discount. Hold on, we got to hit the sponsors. We got to pay the bills that don't really pay bills, which don't really pay bills.
Use the code Elite15 when shopping at alphaeliteperformance.com. And enjoy 15% off. If you use, if you go to CommodityOutdoors.com, sign up for the newsletter, you will get the welcome 20% off. Be sure to use that. Also use Stu and the Nunn, SATN.
Don't pronounce it by the acronym.
Yeah, S15 and get your 15% off Commodity Outdoors, which I see you're wearing a Commodity Outdoors shirt. I got the Commodity hat on, rocking a little Veteran Outdoors, because it's hunting season, baby, and we're killing Bambi, and we're doing
Man.
it for freedom, and we're doing it for all the right reasons. So go Veteran Outdoors. You can find them at www.veteranoutdoors.com. And other than that, Enlisted Nine Fight Company you can find on ninelineapparel.com or Enlisted Nine Fight Club. Enlisted Nine Fight Company. I can't, man. Tonight I'm screwing off.
Just
Sorry, sponsors.
let it go. But with that, we'll reckon. Here you got me all messed up, man. We are glad to welcome Scott onto the show, and welcome, sir. How you doing?
Good, guys. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. It is. We are just so excited, man. You know, when Rob, our unpaid producer, introduced you to us and told us a little bit of your story and looked it up. I mean, it was just. I was like, oh man, this guy is like, he's gonna be, I'm gonna be ready to re-enlist or something or sign back up. This guy is. I mean, you just I have a whole bunch of remixes and sound mixes that I work out with all the time, and they got like some they overdub like these motivational speakers in the background, all that stuff. And I was thinking I'm gonna have to grab the recording from tonight because I think I want to remix some of the stuff you're probably gonna tell us into that because man, you talk about a never quit attitude. I think our listeners and viewers are about to hear that. So again, thanks for coming on, man.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate the shout out to the infantry. Like I said, those Navy SEALs with their beautiful hair,
Oh,
and
it's glorious.
Yeah, it's
great product.
Yeah, it'd be real easy for us too if we had all the gear and everything. So shout out to the infantry. So thank you, boys.
That's it. That's it. Hey, like someone always says, when you're a little kid and you ran around and played Army, nobody ever played Cook, Supply, or Navy SEAL, right? They always played Army Infantry. I'm just saying. They didn't play MP either. I'm just saying. But
that's true.
Anyways,
100%.
well, hey, I said that for a reason. But Scott, thanks for coming on. You do have a story that you have the shirt on, the Unbreakable shirt. Yeah, obviously, we're showing your IG tag, Unbreakable_journey. That hashtag or that statement, that word has a meaning to you. So if you wouldn't mind, just kind of give our viewers and listeners a little bit about what happened in your life, what have you done in your life, and what has brought you to this point. That is such a meaningful word.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So yeah, like you guys alluded to, I grew up in the Bay Area, joined the Marine Corps right out of high school. I always wanted to be a Marine. Wanted to be Marine Corps infantry. Went into the Marine Corps, did that, got out because I was pre 9/11, so I call it Operation Enduring Training, and it's and I stole that from somebody, but it's true. And so I had the Marine Corps taught me so much and taught me so much discipline, and so I got out and because we weren't kicking indoors and wanted to kick indoors in the civilian world, so went to school, got a great job, worked the corporate world for 15 years, being super successful in sales. I was a pharmaceutical rep, and really just kind of had the American dream. I have 4 girls because God's got a sense of humor, given this Corps infantryman.
I got 2, and yeah,
it's that. I know they say in the Navy SEALs team guy curse, but it's true in the infantry, right? And carrying a 50 cal over and over because I was part of a anti-armor platoon, just does numbers on your back. And I mean, just the military does numbers on your back. So went in for a routine epidural procedure. I was having issues with my arms going numb, because I was having neck issues, and the doctor hit my spinal cord and literally was sitting in there, relatively healthy and definitely not paralyzed. And I was supposed to meet my wife for a contractor, and she texted me saying she was on her way back home. She knew I was going in for it. She goes, and I go, I'm not going to make it. And she said, are you okay? And I just texted her back, no. And from there on, I had a spinal hematoma. So I started bleeding internally in my spinal cord, and eventually, a few hours later, ended up paralyzed from the chest down. And the doctors came in and said, "This is what's happening. We got to rush you into surgery. We don't know what we're going to find in there, but you will never walk again. We can assure you that. Um, you got to be ready for that, and we're going to do everything in our power to not make it where you're paralyzed for the rest of your life, but you're going to be in a wheelchair." So obviously that was just, I mean, you can't prepare for that
No.
news. And that was in a matter of hours. And I looked at my wife and I was like, "You need to call my mom and have her pick up the girls because they're getting out of school in 2 hours. And you need to call our friends who are coming over for a barbecue and tell them we're not going to make it." So I was rushed into emergency surgery. I was opened up from C2 to T3, which is basically the base of your skull to halfway down your back. And they had to rip my uh, spinal column open to relieve the pressure and put a whole bunch of hardware in there and clean it out. And so I woke up hours later, and luckily I was not paralyzed from the chest down anymore. I was just paralyzed on my right side. I met my surgeon for the first time, and I said, "Hey, you do this all the time." We're lucky out here in Arizona. We have Mayo Clinic. I went to Mayo Clinic, and I said, "You see this all the time. What, tell me. Like, don't sugarcoat it. What's the deal?" And he goes, "Look, man, it was bad, and yeah, you're not gonna walk again, and you're gonna be in the fight of your life." And so, from there on, it was okay. I just thought back to the Marine Corps and the infantry and, you know, all those battles and just getting through that and what they taught me. And I just said, I'm a big faith guy myself. And right before the surgery, I stopped the whole operating room, asked them to pray. And I said, "Look, I got 4 girls, including one that just turned 1 a week ago. I have to be there for them." And so I, said, "Please, I know you guys always do your best, but please try your hard, like, do your best.
Yeah.
I need to be, they can't, I just thought of myself in a wheelchair and the burden it would put on them." And so I made 2 promises to God. It was, you know, if he'd allow me to walk again, I'd do 2 things. Whatever they asked me to do, I wouldn't say no. And whatever they asked me to do, I'd do twice as much. And so since that day, I've been doing that. Please, I know you guys always do your best, but please. Oh,
Oh, sorry about
sorry.
that. Go ahead. Go ahead, man.
Oh, yeah. So I just started fighting and I started documenting my journey and never knowing that it was going to turn into what it's turned into. And so I think it was like 6 months after that happened. My family and I, we went out, we rented a house on the beach because, my state, we couldn't do normal vacations, like go walk around Disneyland or whatever it was. And we had gotten quite a bit of notoriety, just documenting my journey and everything. And I just told him, and during that time I got hooked up. It's funny, a Navy SEAL, Don Rosso. And he, I didn't know him before this, but, he had the will to fight. That's like his big saying. And when I was in the infantry, I had a lieutenant. They used to always say, "Get back in the fight," when we were at our lowest, right? And that whole thing is about being overrun, right? And if you don't get back in the fight or have the will to fight, you're going to die. And so my family and I have been through so much. And I said, "Look, that's his, and that's a big part of it, but we need our own thing. And what are we?" And so we workshopped it and we came up with Unbreakable. And basically, what that is just taking round after round after round, which those 5 girls, my 4 girls and my wife, they have really taken round after round that they never asked for, and just getting back up. They've gotten back up, and we have these bracelets that say "Bend, don't break," and that's the thing. We trust me, we've thought about breaking, I mean, almost every day. I mean, this morning I couldn't get out of bed. I was in so much pain still to this day. And I was sitting there. I just told my wife like an hour ago, she left me this cute little note because I was in bed, just saying, I wish I could go back. Man, I'm getting choked up. She goes, I wish I could go back and cancel that appointment for you, but I know I can't. And so I was like, man, I got to rally. I got this podcast. These guys are having me on. I got to rally.
Yeah, it's super, super important. Super important that you're enduring the pain for us, man. Like, hey, let me just take a moment because I want to identify something before I lose this in my mind, because my mind, lots of things get lost in there. So like you go in for this appointment, something happens, all right, and I'm using my words very specifically based on how you just communicated your story to us. Something happens. The first thing you think of doing is how it's going to affect everybody else. I never once, you're like, you mentioned, I took notes because I was like, this is what people need to hear. If you only hear like a couple things like out of the show, like I think I just heard the most important thing I needed to hear from me today. Because everyone goes through hard things in life. Like the very first thing that came to your mind was like, I need to talk to God because like he's actually the authority. And two, you weren't concerned. Like most people that like, hey, you might not walk again, they get angry. Like the common reaction is like, like I wish there was like a Grey's Anatomy, type moment that you could like pull to, like, you screwed up, like, like the first thing that came to mind is like, okay, like I'm going to talk to like who's actually in charge, and we're going to talk to God, and we're going to like start our negotiations, if you will. And negotiations with God are pretty simple. You just submit, and you like just put a little Carrie Underwood in the back of your head and like, Jesus, take the wheel. And then your concern was not for you, like not like, hey, I'm never going to walk again. Like you didn't say that. What you said was, man, help my family because this is going to be a burden on them. Not like I'm like in this bowling league and I got like this really important match. No, like none of that. You were like, like you thought about everybody but yourself. And this is the loss of paralysis, the loss of the use of limbs is extremely personal. Like we have amputees. I take amputees with Veteran Outdoors. I deal with it. Like there's a grieving process, and like you skipped that whole process and you went straight to like, help my family. Like, don't worry about me. I'm good. You infantryed your way through that. You got back in the fight by immediately saying, okay, like God, I need to be in this fight. So like, I'll do whatever it takes to be in this fight, but I need you to make sure that the talk's okay. Like, don't worry about the front lines. I got that. I'm going to do whatever that takes. But, can you watch the talk for me? Like that's pretty strong, bro. Like that is not your typical reaction. And like, I love how your first thing was like, let me talk to who's in charge and let me worry about everybody else. And that's why you're unbreakable. Because if it was about you, which it is, but if it was really about you and your mind, you'd have broke. Because that's selfish. That like there's no strength in that. There's no character to that. Like men of character bounce, right? Men of character like flex forward, like they bend. Like men without character, they break. That's like, dude, that's impressive, bro.
Thanks. And I appreciate that because especially on a day like today where it's super hard to even hold my head up. And trust me, I've been super selfish during this last 2.5 years, not intentionally, but just because this, like you said, those people that are amputees and all that stuff, it, I, I was in a car accident 12 years ago that was, I thought was the worst, the worst thing I'd ever go through. And, of course, God was like, hold my beer. I'm going to show you something else. And I was not unbreakable during that. And I've told people that. So that kind of set me up for, this thing. And so I just told my wife this past weekend when we got home because we weren't together at that time. And I was like, listen, this is going to rip us apart. I promise you, unless we acknowledge it. It will absolutely rip us apart. And, we're going to be in the fight of our lives. And she didn't realize what was about to come, but I did. And, and obviously not to the level. So thank you for saying that. And it means a lot because, those girls are everything to me. And, it's funny you mentioned the infantry when we joked about it, but it's true, man. When, the Marine Corps and the Army infantry, like people don't understand, there's all these shows about Navy SEALs and Green Berets and all this stuff. And I always talk about when I was in Special Forces on a SIF team. I go, we were doing bake sales for rounds before that, right? And then, it's like once I got attached to a SIF team and was, helping out Dev Grew and Delta and all these guys, rounds were falling out of the sky. I mean, it was like, wow, we have so much what, but people don't understand like what we've done, like when you're sitting in that hole in the worst conditions ever. And it's a grind, right? It's a grind. And like you talked about the talk and that's a good leader, right? Is he thinks about everybody else. He doesn't think about himself. And, maybe that's where it comes from. I don't know, but I appreciate that.
No, I mean it's a Toby hit on some good points there. I mean it would be human nature to have some self pity, right? And I would say a vast majority in the 90 something percentile would at some point through anything of this magnitude, whether they are in a horrific car accident or have a bad surgery or a procedure happen or whatever it may be, it's not shameful or uncommon to sit there and go, woe is me for a little bit. I mean, it's like, what did I do to deserve this, right? What did I do to bring this on me? Toby talked about character and that kind of stuff. We also talked about faith a little bit. You talked about faith. It's those with faith that sit there, I believe, in my personal opinion, don't wallow in that too long, and they pause and think. They look at, you know, what Jesus went through and that kind of stuff, and they look through what the pains and everything went through and go, you know, there's a higher power, and you did that pretty quickly. There's somebody, there's something bigger than me, and a lot of other people have went through a lot worse, right? Whether they're fellow comrades that have fallen in combat or been maimed, or just people in our lives that maybe have been raped or been in an accident or whatever it may be, have been through a lot. Like, who am I to have self? I think people with faith and people with character, they may have that for a moment, but then they quickly bounce out of it and go, I'm just going to make the best out of this I can. There's nothing I can do about it. And if you have faith, you go, it's in His hands, right? So it's not. I am not in control. I think that probably is what led you to so quickly think that way, and just the selfless attitude of a true infantryman and a true soldier. And I say that of all branches, to sit there and go, it's not about what about the people to my left and right. For your left and right, it was those girls, right? That was it. It wasn't. You may have been down behind cover and got hit, but you were like, what about the rest of my team? Are they okay? If a bomb came in or an IED went off, right? It's what did everyone else has everyone else okay in the vehicle or around me in patrol, not about me. I think unbreakable. And as you explained that story, I just thought through, man, it has a lot of different meanings. It's not just I'm unbreakable as a person. Have you thought of it that way? When you guys came up and war game that came up with that word, did you see it being applied in a lot of different contexts?
Yeah, absolutely. And what's so funny is in the social media world and everything, Unbreakable actually is total bullshit. Like when we talk about what we went through and everything like that, when you break down, get down to it, it's like we've broken so many times. I mean, seriously, we've broken so many times, and people want to put out there that, all this inspiration, all this other stuff. And it's like, if you're going to be real, what unbreakable really means is like I told you, we take it round after round, and just when we think we're broken, it's like we get back up. And it's, I say that just because I've been reached out to by so many people that are struggling, right? That are super struggling. And I see it every day in social media. And there's so many people out there that are just so full of BS. And they're not afraid to they're afraid to sit there and say, "Hey, I'm not okay today," or "I'm not doing well," or whatever. And like you said, yeah, it can mean so many things. So, and it's okay to admit that. And I've gotten so, it's funny, I can sit there, like you said, and war game a post for 8 hours and think I got the perfect picture and the most inspirational freaking thing, and this is gonna freaking go viral and change everybody's life, and it'll fall flat. And then I'll just take a picture of me, soiling my pants because I don't have control of my functions because of my accident, and just say what's really on my mind. And that's what will freaking, take off, because people need to hear that, especially in this
Uh,
day and age.
well, so you just actually explained why, though. Everybody that, you got these YouTubers, you got these Instagram girls, you got like, and we have them in the veteran community, like people wanting to be Instagram famous, trying to be social media famous. They're going to spend 5, 6 hours or what, 8 hours, like you said, trying to craft this post. Like, I'm going to inspire you and look at my struggle. And, like I'm, someone that you can look up to. And it's like, hey, you're just a person, right? Like, and you're experiencing life like everybody else. You're just trying to put a lens on it of, of fakeness, of falsehood. And, like, you're just like everybody else. Authenticity, like when you meet a guy in real life, you meet a girl in real life, and you talk to them, and you have like uh an a moment that's not cliche, like where you're like, hey, what's up, man? How, like, how's the weather? Like, and you get past like some superficial cliche thing. You're like, how are you? Well, actually, I'm kind of shitty. Things aren't going well. Like paralyzed. Um, like my wife's got to wipe my ass. Like, and you have like this authenticity, and you have this moment of like this genuine, and the relationship's built on that. But like, that's a foundation of rock. Like, that's a real relationship, because immediately you're not like being cliche, you're not being superficial, like
Wait,
you're actually connecting, and you have this level of transparency. And social media is the same way. People see right through that crap. Like, oh, like, you fish in a bikini? Yeah, because a lot of people fish in bikinis. Like, like people are like, oh, like that's cute.
hey,
Like, you're holding that.
have you been watching my IG feed? I didn't know you were watching it.
Yeah,
Did you
no,
like
like
that latest one?
Kermody's IG feed's horrible, because like my wife probably thinks like I'm like surfing porn on Instagram because of the trying to find like influencers for the fishing industry. But no, like, people don't like hold a big ass mahi, or against their like bare skin like that. You get rash, but yet like there's nothing but like all these bikini pictures. And when you share honesty in real relationships, and online, people can see that. And that's why it goes viral. When people try to create these viral things like, hey, I'm going to give my girlfriend her dream car, everyone knows that's BS. And then you got some dude like just trying to skateboard his way to work, drinking cranberry juice because like, like, and it goes viral. Well, it goes viral because like some dude's actually skateboarding his way to work. He's all of a sudden like, oh, just a dude. And like, who drinks cranberry juice? Well, unless you've seen The Departed, you know who.
Well, I want to real quick. I want to hit on one thing there. You mentioned the word influencers, and there's a big thing. Obviously, there's internet influencers, social media influencers. I think the difference is there's internet influencers and there's life influencers. And I
Yeah,
think that's what we're talking about. People that aren't dealing with
yeah.
first world problems and that kind of stuff, right? It's the things that really matter in life. Your family, your loved ones, being able to survive, right? We've talked about it. Anyone that's been to combat knows and comes back. We always talk about how boring life is back in the States because none of this stuff really matters, right? You have a time where you have to get over, and whether you've been to combat, you've been in a bad accident, or been in a freaking plane crash, or any kind of near death experience, or maiming experience, you're going to come out and go, really, none of that bullshit matters. Like, oh, I don't have the latest iPhone. Oh, I don't, my internet doesn't work. Or it's like, who cares, right? Because at the end of the day, when you're standing by someone's deathbed and you're wishing you would have said and done all the things you wish you would have, that's really all that matters. Nothing else matters that got you there.
Well, like, so there's the interpersonal aspect of it, the presence of it, right? Like when you talk about a social media influencer, like they're not actually trying to influence your life. They're trying to influence your behavior to buy something or to support something. Like they're not actually trying to better your life. They're not standing up in front of a congregation sharing their testimony and like actually making an impact and then like talking with you later. They're not like sitting down with you in a bar having a beer and like actually like getting to know you. They're not making an impact. They're just influencing a behavior for a very selfish purpose. Like it, and there's a difference. Like, and there's like I got reached out to today. He's probably watching, so like it. I'll watch what I say, but like, hey, have you ever thought about like hiring a life coach? It's like, yeah, have I ever thought about hiring a life coach? Like someone to coach me through this? Yeah, like, well, I'm still unpacking my desk, but I got his playbook right over here on my bookshelf. Like, well, it's not a bookshelf, it's a stack of books right now, but but I got the playbook right over here. Like I don't need a life coach. Like and why would I hire you? How old are you? And what have you accomplished in life? And like how does that relate to me? Like like I mean, one, you're a saint because you got, like that God's got a sense of humor because you're surrounded by girls. Like
Yeah.
that's like you're a saint. You're a
Yeah.
saint. I'm 50-50. I got the split, so like I got at least one ally sometimes. Sometimes.
Well, Scott, let me ask you. We talk about inspiration and influences in life. Since this has happened, have you found yourself with the ability to talk to people and share your story? And have you recognized that maybe this is why this has happened? And have you had that chance yet?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's crazy because, you know, it's funny. I have friends, Chris and Jen, shout out Chris, the SWAT, commander, and his wife Jen's has a company that teaches combat first aid she's a former paramedic, and she teaches first, like real trauma first aid to first responders. And I think their company's like saved like some like over 100 lives with their training, and maybe more. And I apologize if I get that wrong, but they kind of did a make a wish for me right after the accident and took me to SHOT Show. And I've always wanted to go to SHOT Show and never have because I'm not in the industry. And
Yeah. Until you get there and you realize what it is. Like,
well,
hey,
yeah, exactly. And what's funny is I thought, oh, I'm going to see the latest and greatest in guns. And I didn't see, I saw maybe two booths. And right at the beginning, I met this lady who lost her husband, was a police officer and lost him in a tragic accident, and is trying to change the world. And I met my friend Don Rosso, former Devagru guy, awesome guy, who helped me at that time. And since then, because of faith, I've built this amazing tribe. And it's all through God. It's all through God. We're all connected in that. And so you guys know Sheriff Lamb and Matt. And Matt's one of my closest friends now. I met him through that.
awesome.
Yeah, that's honestly, he's one of my closest friends now. He's somebody
Sweet.
I just talked to him today because I was coming on your guys' show, right? He said, say
Awesome,
hi.
man.
Yeah, he said to say hi. And
What a small world, dude.
yeah, but honestly, it's like he's one of my closest friends now. I've known him for 7 months, and it's all through faith. So, um, and once again, that doesn't happen by happenstance.
Right.
You know, it doesn't. And I just, yeah. So as painful as it is, yes, it did happen for a reason, 100%.
Yeah.
But it's funny. I talked to my friend Elizabeth, the one who lost her husband. We always joke because we're like, if you could go back and not have it happen, and all the stuff wouldn't happen when you do it. We're like, hell yes, hell yes, because it's every day is so hard. Imagine she lost her husband,
Yeah.
and she has 2 kids.
Mm.
I lost my health, which I struggle to. And so it's just one of those things where so guess what? It did happen. I can't go back and change it. And one of the consequences of it, and we always talk about the consequences, always seems negative, but consequences could be positive too,
Mm-hmm.
was this huge tribe that surrounds me now that is built by faith and just amazing people. So yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about your tribe because I mean you alluded to it earlier. Uh, you started documenting this journey, and it's been pretty impressive, right? So like from what they said you were going to deal with to what you're actually dealing with, there's been progress. There's been some huge challenges overcome. There's been like pardon the pun. There's been some mountains climbed, like some great stuff. Where can people find where you're documenting your journey? Because it's pretty cool to like, get a passenger seat in this and like kind of look through your windshield. It's really neat. So where can people find that?
Yeah. So right now it's just on Instagram. It's at unbreakable_journey because when we came up with Unbreakable, I knew we were starting to get some, doing some podcasts, everything. I knew Scott Flansbaum would be a hard one for people to find. So,
What?
so yeah, it's just Unbreakable
You should
underscore.
have made it the Scott Plan.
Yeah, right. And I had enough problems in I mean, you could imagine in Marine Corps boot camp what I was called. But
Yeah.
yeah, so just documenting it there. And we have a nonprofit, My Unbreakable Journey, but it's like I said, I'm still struggling every day to just make it through the day. And so, I've had so many people say you need to, really do more with your message, but I truly can't right now. I truly can't. And I just believe that God will give me the same platform that I had after a few months, if it's 10 years from now when I can finally do it.
Well, and here's the thing, and you know, I would love to share this with you. Your platform uh, isn't to be famous, right? Uh, People are like you're kind of getting, so like you said, some notoriety. You're getting a bit of a following. People are starting to figure out who you are, especially when they see move. Um, but your platform is to reach the person that needs it at that moment. And like if you got like our Instagram page, our tens of followers, uh, like if you got tens of followers or you have tens of thousands of followers, it's not about the 10,000. It's about the one. They're Veteran Outdoors did this really cool partnership this fall with a guy that is a great dude. His name's Granger Smith. He's a country singer, and Granger's a solid dude. His brothers are awesome. They got this great company called Yee Yee Apparel, and but Granger, before he goes on stage, him and his band and his crew and all that stuff, they say this prayer, and it's not like recited, but it's the same sentiment, and basically that sentiment is like, hey, we're not here for the however many thousand people that bought tickets tonight. we're here for that one person that really needs to hear us tonight. So let's play the best that we can, like let's use our God-given talents, and let's be blessed in this moment that we talk to that one person. And that's what your platform is. Your platform isn't for the tens of followers that we have on Instagram. Like it's for that one person that reads that post that you didn't spend 8 hours crafting and putting some bullshit, like inspirational, like leadership poster behind, like with some acronym. It's, for that person that's like, I need help right now. I need to be inspired. I need a message. I need that sign, that person that's been on, asking for that moment of like enlightenment, that light at the end of the tunnel. That's your platform. That's why you're unbreakable, is so that you can share that message. So when that person's about to snap and that green stick fracture is about to like start like breaking that bone, like that they have the strength to reinforce it and stand up straight, as an analogy, like
Yeah.
that's your platform. And I love how that's what you're doing versus like, hey, I'm just, like trying to be Instagram famous and, like get some free shit, get some discount tickets at Disney. No, like you actually like, you kind of want to help somebody. And that's pretty cool. The rawness though of like, I feel like I can't help people because I'm having a hard time making it through the day. Well, you know what? There's a lot of people trying to make it through the day. And the fact that you're doing it and saying, hey, the day is hard to get through is helping a lot more people than you probably realize.
I really appreciate that, because it's funny that, and once again, I'll bring faith up again, but uh, to be on this podcast with you guys, for you guys to reach out, because there was a moment where I was really hot, and I said, I just don't feel like it right now, because it's like, okay, there's the paralyzed guy that walked again. Like, freaking yay, we've heard your story over and over. And that's what goes through in your head. And you're absolutely right. And I tell my wife this. I mean, I get 2 to 3 messages a week from people I don't even know that are like, hey, I am battling right now. And just what you just said, Toby. And it's hard because you see all the BS out there, and I can tell you guys right now, I've been on a lot of podcasts, and within the first 5 minutes, I knew this one was going to be different, and what you guys are doing, and you get bored after a while because you're telling the same story, and once again, you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm tired of hearing myself talk, and so I absolutely believe that God put us together, and I appreciate it. And I don't think, I'm sure you guys, reached out to me to, give your listeners inspiration, but you guys truly have inspired me, because, it's hard to remember that when you're in the fight, and there's chaos going around, and it's been that way for, I just went to physical therapy again today. It's probably I'm not joking, like my 1,000th time in the last, 2.5 years. And I just, like I said, I was having a really rough day.
And
And
it sucked just like the first time.
yeah, yeah. And yeah. And I told her, I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to keep doing this.
Yeah.
But you will.
Yeah.
And there's your story is inspiring. There's other people that are at the same point, regardless of what their issue, their incident or issue or whatever it is that they're dealing with. And it may be just emotional, it may be physical, it may be whatever, right? It could be with everything going on in this crazy year, right? People may be facing, out of work, trying to support a family, having their own girls and boys, trying to, and not sure where to turn and everything like that. I'm sure you have probably seen or come across. I mean, you talked about the young lady that lost her husband, law enforcement officer, in an accident. I mean, there's others. I'm sure I know you've seen and heard stories where you makes yourself go, "Shit, mine's nothing." Right? It's we had the same thing. I mean, Toby and I have been through a lot of things, and we've helped people through stuff, and again, it's human nature to sometimes, whether you've had anything happen or not, to go, well, it's like, man, how I got to deal with this and this. And then you see something or hear something or meet someone and go, yeah, I don't have it that bad, right? A common thing in my work, and this has been, I've since I've come back from Afghanistan in '06 or '07, I've never lost this one trait of being there. And that is every time someone asks me how I'm doing or how I'm putting up with something, like, hey, I'm not getting shot or blown up today. Pretty good day. Well, in my civilian occupation, they've gotten used to it. Like, people think that's gonna but they just quit asking, because they, that first time, they're always like, oh, well, yeah, I guess so. That's kind of, but it's like, that's all I can adjust to. Is like, it's really not that bad, right? We're all gonna get up tomorrow. We're all gonna put on our khakis and our polos and get a cup of coffee and go to work, and it's not that tough. And I think, you know, your story, whether you're sharing it on a podcast, whether you're writing your IG post, or just running into somebody yourself and telling them. I mean, that's the thing. Unless someone tells you that change, you have no idea what that sphere of influence is going to be, right? We've had a good friend of ours on the show, Timothy Payne. He's actually from Western New York, where I'm at. Tim is talk about a dude strong in his faith. Tim got blown up in Afghanistan, lost both legs, has had hundreds of surgeries, died 7 times on the evac out of Afghanistan. The dude just should not be alive, right? Just completely amputated from right below the waist. And anyone that meets him is like, walks away going, that's the most inspirational. I mean, he is a smile on his face from ear to ear, and he'll talk to you about Jesus. And he was never that way before. And he saw God, he came face to face, and he is not shy. He's talked about it on the show. He's talked about
Not shy.
Yeah, talked about it with my Cub Scouts. I mean, he's and people walk away because they see him and it's, oh, this vet, and he's got no legs and that stuff. And that dude's like, it's awesome. Because guess what? It gives me a voice. People listen to me. I can tell them about the grace of God and that kind of, and he is unapologetically that way 24/7, 365. And when I see your story and hear your story, I kind of think the same thing. It's like, it's happened. Maybe it's hard to grasp why, or why me, or why now. But I think at some point, if it hasn't already, that epiphany is going to pop. It's like, yes, this is the reason. And okay, it happened. I'm going to keep running with it, and I'm going to make the most positive out of this that I can. When I meet folks like you, Scott, and I talk to Tim and other folks that have, suffered a hell of a lot worse than I do, ever have, I sit there and go, yeah, it's almost like I haven't been shot or blown up today. Like, I got nothing to complain about, right?
Yeah.
You
Absolutely. And it's funny you bring that up, because I tell people that all the time. And I was just talking to my buddy Chris, the one who took me to SHOT Show. He was on his way down for this little girl. The SWAT team was delivering Santa in an MRAP, which is pretty awesome, to a girl that's terminally ill, with cancer, 4 years old. And it's like, would I trade places with those parents right now? Hell no.
yeah,
Hell no. But I will pray for that girl. I told him tonight, my family will get around and pray for her. And yeah, you're absolutely right. And I tell people that all the time, here's another thing I tell people all the time, because I get this all the time. Why am I complaining to you? Like, I forgot. Like, I'm so sorry. I'm complaining to you. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, no, I hate that, because your problems are your problems. I don't care who you are. I don't care, if it's, Toby, you're like, oh, I gotta move these freaking boxes into this, new place. And it's like, yeah, of course, if you bring that up to me, who couldn't get out of bed today, I'm gonna say, suck it up, pussy. Like, freaking sorry.
No.
Yeah, but it's like, no, you're like, hey, I'm trying to get home, blah blah, whatever. But it's like, dude, that's a real problem. Is it a first world problem? Absolutely. Is it as bad? No. But I tell people all the time, like, no, your problems are your problems. They cause stress. I want to hear about them. And the way you get through that is think about other people. Like, tonight, I'm like, hey man, I could be in a hospital. I know how bad the hospital is after spending so much time, and it's COVID. So this poor girl can't have both her parents at the same time, and she's dying. Like, it makes me sick. It makes
yeah,
me sick to my stomach. So yeah, it can roll downhill, and I can tell Toby to shut up, right? And she can tell me to shut up. But your problems are your problems, right? So you're absolutely right. You're not getting shot and blown up. Amen.
yeah. I mean, like I say, this year there's people that have their loved ones, some of them their lifelong married partner for 30, 40, 50 years that they can't be with in their dying days, right? They're intubated and they can't even allow them in the room, and they're calling every half hour, how is he or she doing. They can't even be there to hold their hand, right? I can't even imagine, right? I can't fathom not being able to the person that I've dedicated my life to and spent probably spent decades with, to not be able to sit there and hold their hand in their last few breaths because of some virus. Because honestly, sure, I'll take the risk. Wrap me in a freaking bubble wrap. Well, I don't care what it takes, right? But just to be absolutely rejected and denied that ability has got to be a pain that none of us can imagine and probably ever want to even experience, right? And probably wouldn't wish on our worst enemy to have somewhere. And it could not be that. It could be your parents. It could be anything where you can't be there with them, right? And just that's happening across this globe. And has been, right, for what,
which,
8-9 months.
Yeah, which by the way, I was just telling my buddy Chris this today, which by the way, that's why Nancy Pelosi and Gavin Newsom are a piece of shit, because freaking sorry, but I think your audience is probably a little biased, but that's why and I'm really not that big of a political guy, but I've been in the hospital at the freaking lowest of the low. And you're absolutely right. And so that's why people, when you see that, that's why it's a big deal. Yeah. That's why it's a freaking big deal. And that gets me fired up, because there are so many people that are dying alone, and these people are laughing. And, so like I said, I didn't mean to go down a rabbit hole, but I just have to.
I mean, it's not just that. It's people, it's an old folks home. I got friends of mine that run senior homes and talk about how the people, they don't understand, they have dementia or whatever. They don't understand why their loved ones aren't coming to see them anymore. And they're giving up. And I have at least 3 people close to me that work in 3 different senior care centers that are telling me about people that are just giving up, and literally their hearts are stopping. They can't comprehend why the loved ones that they used to see weekly, if not more often, just quit showing. Right, quit coming, and they're just laying in their beds, and no one's talking, no one's checking on them or nothing. That mental health, we all know that mental, right? What's the first thing you do? We always get taught when you come up on someone with going into shock, right? You give them the mental first aid. You're going to be okay, right? No matter what's sticking out of them or coming out of them, you're going to be all right, right? That right there is that level of support and first aid on the psyche is unmeasurable. And people are just been withering away because they won't even let them come in. If they let a doctor, and I'm going to go down this route, I'm going to rant for a second. If they let a doctor or a responder put on the full white Tyvek suit, and they put on the double mask and the shield and all that stuff and can work on them, a loved one, if it is willing to do the same thing and take the risk, should be allowed to do it, right? Because again, a lot of friends work in that space and work in the healthcare industry, come home every day, strip down in front of the washer, go take a shower, do it, and they go back and do it every day. Why would you not allow a loved one, if someone's definitely going to perish, why would you deny them that ability? Again, and that's a pain I can't even imagine, and hope God I never do.
Yeah.
No, it's really unfortunate, Troy, because I know we're not gonna go deep down this hole, but since we opened the cave door, let's dive in.
Sorry.
No. But Kaiser's this is the Facebook chat room. He's like, people lack perspective when they complain, and like when you talked about people like, well, why am I complaining to you about this? Or like, here's the thing: it's like everybody endures something. There's a great book out there. It's written by this guy, former Green Beret, Vietnam era guy. His name's Stu Weber. Dude's like, he was a great war fighter. The book I'm talking about is called Tender Warrior. And, like in this book, one of the things that Stu Weber writes, like he does this whole like military thing, Green Beret, Vietnam, all that stuff. And he gets out and he becomes a pastor. And now he's written a couple of really good books. The book I'm referencing right now is called Tender Warrior. But in there, he's talking about, there's no new emotion, right? I'm like kind of explaining and paraphrasing or whatever, but he talks about there's nothing, like you will not experience something as a person, as a man, that another human being has never experienced. Like everyone will experience pain. Everyone will experience love. Everyone will experience loneliness. Like I remember like when my dad passed away, it was like so traumatic to me. And for like probably 2 days, I felt like, you know, I was the only person on earth that had ever lost a parent. And then I realized like, oh, uh, everyone will lose their dad. Everyone will, like if you're a human, it means you had a parent because you got created, and you're gonna, you know, you're gonna experience that loss, like, and you know, people will all have this experience, and we're trying to like illogically, unscientifically shelter people from some kind of experience that we can't shelter them from. Like if the doctor can go in there in the white suit, you can go in there in the white suit. We can't shelter people from this emotion. We can't like it's just it makes zero sense. I know those don't really connect very well, but like to me they do, because no matter what, we are doing something to each other right now that makes no sense. And it's what you call political, you can call it like power, you can call it whatever you want, but it just doesn't make any sense. We're damaging each other for no reason, because we think that we're going to help you for some reason,
Yeah.
but no one can explain what that reason actually is.
Can I stop you for a second? Because you are making perfect sense to somebody who's been in the hospital and had something as traumatic as being okay. They cut my neck open. If you go on my Instagram page, you can see it from the base of my skull to halfway down my back. I sat there with my wife and I said, I can't. And then they put two ports in and drain the blood afterwards. So those are sticking out. Oh, by the way, I can only lay on my back, right? So I can't even tell you guys how uncomfortable that was. And I told my wife, I'm like, the sheets, like there's a wrinkle in the sheet. It's freaking making me insane. Like I can feel it. It's like the princess and the pea, right?
That's exactly what's going
Yeah.
on.
And I'm like, I'm complaining about this for hours. And she's looking at it going, I don't see anything. I don't see. And dude, I'm a big fat guy, right? I'm 220 pounds. And, it's not like they can just roll. I mean, they're trying to roll me over, but I can't move. And so finally, after hours, she goes, oh my gosh, there's like, there is a wrinkle in the sheet, but it is microscopic. But let me tell you, this princess felt that pee and she pulled it, and all of a sudden it was, I can't even tell you how good it felt because of how much pain I'm in. And trust me, no, and the nurses at Mayo were incredible, but nobody's going to sit in there. They don't have the time to sit in there for 6 hours looking for this make-believe crease that barely existed. And so yeah, it makes total sense, because and that's why I get so fired up about it, because if you are dying, how dare you? I spent maybe 2 hours in my whole hospital stay without somebody I loved, and it was the worst 2 hours of my life. And I wasn't dying.
Right.
So it makes total sense to somebody who's been there.
Yeah, and so I mean, your story, I mean, Unbreakable is something that people can, whether it's for them or not. I hope they bookmark it, they go check it out, and they just keep it in the back of their head, because I guarantee you at some point they're gonna run into someone. They're gonna be like, you probably need to go check this story out. You need to hear what happened here and hear. Your testimony and how you've come through it and what you've done and how you've bounced back to the degree that you have. I'm sure not 100%, but I think people need to know that. They need to have that in their back pocket, if you would. So, and maybe it is for them one day. Maybe it is when they're at their lowest point and they're staring at that piece of steel on the table in front of them, in the bottle next to it, and they think there's nothing worse, and they think there's no other way, that they at least think of that. And are you taking it beyond the IG stories? Have you talked about writing a book? Have you is there any other efforts you're looking at or ways to just make this truly get out there and not so much about you, because I know that's what you're not wanting to do. I can just tell, man. It's what this embodies and what it stands for.
Yeah, absolutely. So, luckily, through one of my close friends, Tyler, who did it, because we're not people to ask for help. I have a robotic leg now that took away my walker and allows me to walk. As we talked about, one day walk my daughters down the aisle, which is it was $70,000, and it's not covered by insurance. So I was blessed enough to have one of my best friends, Tyler and Dom, start this GoFundMe. So I have a background in pharmaceutical and device sales. So my goal right now is to just help as many people in life that are struggling, especially in the spinal cord injury world. And I tell if anybody on here is a spinal cord injury patient, I'm blessed to be one of the few that's lucky enough to walk again. And I know some people, don't have, weren't that. It's not the path right now for God, from the God to them. But I always tell them it will happen. I don't care if it's robotics. I don't care if it's virtual reality. The world is changing. Stem cells. It will happen. Be ready. Be unbreakable. Be ready for it, and keep fighting. And so that's my goal. Is to. I really think, as you guys said, that's my platform, is to get out there and help as many of those people as I can. And that's why God gave me this hardship, was to go out and help as many people that are struggling. And like we talked about, it's not about shaking my ass on Instagram and getting as many uh, you know followers as I can. It's about really, I truly believe it in my heart, and that's why I think my page took off, was because it's real. I truly care about people, and that's one of the biggest things I taught my daughters, even before this accident. And that goes back to why I was successful in sales. And it's because if you really care about people, people will care about you. So make sure that you really care about. I don't care if it's the produce person in Safeway, at the grocery store. Care about every person you come into contact. And I'm proud to say, when this accident happened, I mean, we raised that money in 2 weeks, which is insane. It's absolutely insane. And I truly believe it's because I really, it's no BS. I really care about people. It's always been me. That's the Marine in me. That's the guy who wants to stand up like you guys and fight for the people that can't fight for themselves. And so yeah, I hope, God willing, he'll give me the strength to one day be able to take that to the next level.
Absolutely, dude, that is awesome. Your Instagram page is awesome. If people haven't followed it, they need to. I mean, I see Sheriff Lamb on there. Your beautiful family. I mean, you standing up. That awesome looking service dog. What's his name or her name?
That's the Sergeant Major. We call him Major for short. And then we got Diesel, who's hopefully going to replace a little Rottweiler puppy, but he's an asshole. And so, you know, we'll see.
Our puppies must be related.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, but Major is, the Sergeant Major is amazing. Everybody loves him. And if you see me and you see him, he knows how to milk it. And anybody who wants to reach out to me, like I said, I never don't. I might not get back to you right away, but I never not have the time for anybody who's struggling.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. Before we let you go, we've been going about an hour. Is there anything we've talked about a lot? You talked about your page. Is there anything else you want to make sure our listeners and viewers know? Any other place they can follow, keep up besides Instagram, or any initiative or nonprofit or anything that's near and dear to your heart? You want to you want to give you a moment to kind of share anything or any other topic that we didn't hit on it. You want to make sure people
Yeah.
hear.
No, I appreciate you guys having me on. And I just want to, my message is one of, you know, I always tell people, if you don't know this about me, then you don't know me. It's like, I'm here, you know, I'm here to, love my family, love other people, and share that. And that's all I care about, is doing that. And my faith is really big. And I tell people all the time, I'm not some kooky, Christian that goes around ranting, but I am super strong in my faith. And I just want people to know that, life is a freaking a battle, but be unbreakable, have the will to fight. And like I said, I knew within, it's been a rough day. And I knew within the first 5 minutes, I really had to lift myself up for this podcast, not because of you guys, but because of my own thing. And it's funny. I was just telling my wife last night when I was telling her I was coming on this. I've been on a few podcasts that I would never be guests on ever again because they've blown up so big. And I was just on them in the beginning. And what you guys are doing, I can tell you right now, because I've been on quite a few. Like it's real, like we talked about, and it's been an absolute pleasure. And you guys keep grinding, keep doing what you're doing because people need to hear it.
Well, glad you lifted yourself up because you lift me up, you lift us up, and like man, and that's the funny thing. It's like what a small world, man. Like that you guys like you and Lamb
Matt.
are friends and stuff. Like that's awesome. Like
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
Matt.
really was.
Yeah, Mr. One Time.
Yeah,
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 he's a bad mofo. I love that guy.
he's
You know.
hilarious, dude. Like
Oh,
he's a solid follow.
yeah.
yeah.
He's a
He's
solid dude. He's
he's
a
a
solid follow.
yeah, and
Yeah.
he's the best. He truly has become one of my closest friends. And once again, talk about a guy who really cares about people,
Yeah.
and strong in his faith. So, yeah. So thank you guys for giving me this platform, and thanks for lifting me up today. God bless.
Yeah, no worries, man. Well,
Awesome, man.
thanks for coming on. The Troy, what else you got, bud?
No, that's all I got. We'll let you go, and or we can. You want us to wrap up, Toby, or you got
Yeah,
something you
yeah.
want to get on?
So we took last week off, for Thanksgiving, and it was great to you know have a. I actually didn't eat turkey, because who likes turkey? Everybody
Uh,
apparently, but Toby. Um,
because you ain't had mine. I deep fried one and smoked one.
well,
That shit
so
was
like
off the
I'm down
chart.
with the deep. I'm down with the deep fried. I'm kind of down with the smoke. I'm kind of down with the smoke. Um, I'm just I don't know what it is about turkey. It's such a dry experience. But we did a nice brisket. We smoked up a nice brisket because we're Tejas,
Yeah.
and shout out to Tejas Meat Supply, great purveyors of meat products. So we got a beautiful brisket from them. And but due to the old COVID quarantine, uh, it was like laying low, and I got saved from having to deal with family members and like political debates and arguments over like whatever is going on in the world right now because apparently some things are happening. But that was awesome, man. Just good quality time with the family.
Yeah.
And it is so important to just hit that reset button. I know Hunter came home and you got to
All the family came home. Yeah, my son and his wife, my other son and his wife came up from South Carolina, and Hunter was home, and we had all the boys together. We did some great hunting and knocked down lots of deer last week, including some beautiful buck on Saturday. But yeah, it was good just having everyone there playing game night, and we'd wrap up dinner every night and just enjoy. My boys. Hunter's the youngest, and he's just turned 19, right? He's in college, and the rest are all off and on. And so to have them all home and kind of watch them be kids again, watch them pal around and that kind of stuff. It was one
any
thing.
fights? Like
No,
did they like
no. Oh, there was some thumping. There was some, you know,
never gets old.
you can't nut thump your brother when he is the baby, when he's now 6'4" and towers over everyone else, right? It's like
Yeah.
he will come back threefold, and that's what happened. And yeah, but it was. So I tell you, Scott, and I've said this, Toby, it goes by in a flash. Before you know it, you're dealing with adult children and kids and grandkids and all that kind of stuff, and just enjoy every moment. It sounds like you definitely are,
Yeah.
but it'll flash by. But yeah, it was good
I
time.
love that your son's name is Hunter because if I ever were to have a son, which is why we're done, because we'd have 9 girls, but that was the boy's name was Hunter. So
that's awesome.
a great choice. I wish, maybe one day I always say maybe I'll get a whole bunch of grandsons, but
well, all we had was boys. We kept wanting a girl and couldn't get it, and we had to stop because I'm like, it just wasn't working out. And
man, you're gonna pay in the afterlife or something, all right? Because
I don't know, but
for being an infantry guy and having all boys,
but his name,
God must like you.
Well, his name was going to be Hunter Fisher, but my wife was like, absolutely not. That's not going to be his middle name. She's like, I'm like, come on, we lived in Alaska before. I was like, yeah, Hunter Fisher. She's like, no, we'll stick with Hunter.
But she'd have gone with Gatherer.
No, let me go. But no, it's it is. It's just, it's good. We've talked about it before, right? If you go off and face adversity and do that, no matter whether you're a first line responder, serving your community as a law enforcement or in the military, you do that so you come home and enjoy these times, right? It makes these times that much more. When we see the inhumanity and the horrors of humankind, it makes you more sentimental and appreciate humankind and what we cherish, right? And my wife has a great little plaque that she got somewhere up on the wall upstairs that says, soldiers don't fight to kill the enemy in front of them; it's to love those behind them, right? And I think that just says it great. But yeah, it was a good time. We didn't have a show last week. Man, Scott, you're a great guest for us to bounce back after a couple weeks and have you on.
Solid.
We definitely got to have Deputy One Time back on. We told him we're having him back on. We needed to do that, but. No, it's good. Hopefully, Scott, you also got to have a great Thanksgiving and great time with the family and to fellowship and cherish time and do that. And everyone is safe and healthy, which is very important because I know this COVID is running rampant through everywhere else right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And we smoked the turkey too. So I'm with you. It's normally dry, but if you smoke, and I've done, you got to either smoke or deep fry because that oven just ain't, it's not doing it.
And so apparently Toby comes visits, I need to show him I'll do one for him and show him how it's done. But you got to spatchcock it. You got to split that bad boy open and
Yeah, I saw your picture. I was admiring your work.
You cut that backbone out, open that bird wide open, man. It just lets the air
really
into it.
All right. Yeah. I'm gonna have to try that.
Yeah.
Try that. So.
I saw that pic. You send him that pic.
Yeah, I'll shoot it to him.
Of the smoker. Like I was admiring your work. Who doesn't like watching a bunch of meat cook though? Like,
that's it. Well, who doesn't like opening up and just get a face full of smoke? It's like, I should not try to stick my head in there the second I open that thing up, But it's just.
I always tell people it's just an excuse to drink beer, right? It's like that's all barbecuing is. Same with fishing, right? It's an excuse to go out and drink beer.
Yeah, that's right.
Anytime I get an excuse, I'm drink beer. I'm in.
That's it. All right.
Well, since you like fishing, we'll have to talk about that some other time. But
yeah, I sound like someone's lined up for a VO trip.
We're have to circle back and talk a little fishing with you, my dude.
Yeah, I would love it. I would love it.
Be a benefactor of the great folks that support Veteran Outdoors and what it does for sure.
So real quick, what's behind? I see something that says dog behind you.
Oh, behind my shoulder.
What's that say?
It says my dog is a Republican. My dog is a Republican. That's it.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah. The funny, I'm like trying to decorate, and I'm trying.
I'm like, you don't have much. You don't have much going on. Yeah.
But
you looked over your shoulder, which was funny. You looked over. You thought there's something behind you.
I was like, damn it, what's back there? Matt has he's got that picture.
Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell. Like I gotta get something like that. Like I gotta get like a frame.
It looks like you just went out and bought a frame at Hallmark and threw it up there, but I'm sure it isn't. What was the one thing that you wanted?
The one thing I have is the Christmas card from my bookkeeper. Right. One person that likes the one person that likes me is my bookkeeper. So I got like one Christmas card.
So the message is: tune in next week, everyone, to see how Toby decorates the rest of his office.
Tune in next week. It'll be different. I guarantee it.
Yeah, that's it. But, All right. Well, we'll let everyone go. We've been going a little over an hour and 17. Scott, hang on if you can for a second. We'll definitely chat for a couple minutes. But I want to thank everyone for tuning in here at Stu and the Nunn, 8 o'clock Eastern every Thursday. Be sure and catch up with us next week. Rob, the unpaid producer, has been busy lining folks up. And want to make sure you stay tuned. Follow, like our Facebook page. It's not that hard, people. Just hit the freaking like button. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, all those good things. And want to wish and hope everyone is staying safe, healthy, doing the right thing, but also exercising and enjoying your freedoms that you have in this country if you are in the United States listening and watching this show. So with that, Toby and Scott, I think I'll wrap this up and we'll bid everyone adieu. So with that, everyone have a good night. We'll talk to you all next week here on Stu and the Nunn. Well, that wraps up another episode of the Stu and the Nunn Show, and we hope you had as much fun listening to it as we did hosting it for you. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. You can find all these links at stewandthenunn.com. We will talk to you again next Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. Also, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Commodity Outdoors, Veteran Outdoors, Enlisted 9 Fight Company, Warrior Media Solutions, and BooHammer.com. Thank you again, and have a good night.